Hi, this is Bix Weir with roadtoruta.com for your roadside chat on February 15th, day after Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. What I want to talk about today is the time to buy. Um, Everybody is waiting on the excitement coming from the Fed. What will the Fed say? What will the Fed do? Doesn't matter at all. What Janet Yellen says and does doesn't matter. It's all about the computer rigging and the computer market price suppression of silver and gold, and even at times Bitcoin. Although Bitcoin, I would say it's more a controlled price move, not necessarily a suppression, as you can tell. And I think the controlled price move is being done by what they call the Bitcoin Illuminati, all those guys who met on Richard Branson's island back in June of 2015 and then again in 16. And you can see from the charts that Bitcoin has had a very different rise to $1,000 as opposed to when it originally rose and then crashed with the Mt. Gox debacle. This rise has been slow and steady, and is earning trust as it goes. And I think it is being manipulated, but manipulated to stay within certain bounds, so it's not hyper volatile. Because that's one of the problems people cited with Bitcoin. It's just way too volatile, and I think it is being controlled. Anyway, so I want to talk about right now is time to buy. I think it's really a great time to buy silver and a great time to buy Bitcoin. As you can tell from the silver price, we are hovering at like $18. Ridiculous price when you look at the overall scheme of things, especially with gold being well above its historical, not historical highs, but pre pre 2009 historical highs. Basically, after gold hit $800 and went up to like $1,800, $1,900, it blew away its old 1980 high. Silver, on the other hand, came right up to $50, gave it a little kiss, and then got slammed down to, I think at one time it was sub $15. Ridiculous number, completely rigged, completely controlled. My last video talked about the amount of COMEX contracts that had to be thrown at silver last year, up 41%, 100 billion ounces of silver on the electronic exchange were traded, and the mine production was actually down 3%. So complete rigging, 100% is what determines price. Now the question is, going forward, where are we and what's happening? I do think with the new Trump administration, he will allow silver prices to run freely when he's ready. Now remember, the freely traded price of silver and gold, for that matter, would destroy the current monetary system. There's no doubt about it. That's the only reason they've been rigging it since the 1970s via computers, is because they have to control the prices of gold and silver especially, but also oil and wheat and all the commodities and all the stock markets and all that, because everything is a barometer of the value of the US dollar. The unbacked fiat money, huge advantages to be able to print that at will, and that's what they've been doing, and that's the reason for the price suppression of silver, especially because silver is the bank killer. Right now, I think it's close to a half a billion ounces short on the COMEX as far as the positions at the end of the day, which I don't think matter at all. Where J.P. Morgan or Citibank or HSBC sits at the end of the day doesn't matter. What matters is the amount of trades that go on during the day. That's why I always quote the price suppression scheme as the total volume of trades in silver. Because when you think about it, when the COMEX is closed, it's not like they're discovering price. When it's closed, it's closed. Now these metals trade 24 hours a day on different exchanges, which is fine. But that number that they quote as the position at the end of the day is trivial. It doesn't matter because so much more trades. Anyway, that number is somewhere around a half a billion ounces of shorts out there being held, and they are traded many, many massive times more than that every day. But it is something that the markets look at, and the question is, are those shorts going to be covered on a slam down like they usually do? They'll slam down the price. Or are they going to have to be covered at a much higher price? Because once these shorts turn into buyers, nobody really would be willing to sell unless it's all about just rigging the price. And that's the question is, are they going to continue to rig the price? With Steve Mnuchin in there as the new Treasury Secretary, yes, Steve Mnuchin came directly from Goldman Sachs. His job was the head of the IT department, head of the computer trading mechanism that rigs the markets for Goldman Sachs, and is a prime dealer of the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve. So yeah, knee deep in the bad guy stuff of rigging the markets. Will it continue is the big question, and I think that's what is on everybody's mind right now, and it's on my mind too. And I think so far so good is what I'll say about silver. It hasn't been slammed down. I think there's been a couple of attempts. I think one attempt was today, where silver got slammed for about 30 or 40 cents, and then just quickly jump right back up. I've seen this before when silver was below $5, and they were trying to suppress the price, and then someone on the other side had more power than the criminal riggers. So I do see a slow, steady rise. Steve Mnuchin will try everything he has in his power to rig the price of silver and control this rise. But I also think that the good guys are not going to let him this time. So I'm looking for a strong, slow rise throughout 2017. Now, that begs the question, will the silver price go back below $17, $16, $15 to represent a better and better and better spot to purchase silver? I don't think so. I think the it might drop a dollar, but I don't think it's going to get the big slam. It's not set up for the big slam right now. So I think anything below $18 is a great purchase, especially if you're a long-term holder, like throughout 2017 is what I would call long-term. Yeah, buy with both fists, because although it might be volatile, I don't believe that the rigging is designed to continue much further under Trump. And that will be seen when Mnuchin is fired. I really do believe at some point Mnuchin will be fired. And if you look at the Federal Reserve Board, I believe right now there's supposed to be 7 members on that board, and I think there's only 4 now. One of the Fed governors just quit. So, yeah, it's coming down to the showdown between the good guys who want to destroy the system and go back to a gold standard, and the bad guys who are trying desperately to keep it in place. I do think Trump is working for the good guys, otherwise he would not have been placed where he is. The slow takedown is picking up speed, I believe. Yeah, the big question in everybody's mind is, will Trump rig the markets the same way that his predecessors have to make America great again by rigging the markets, overthrowing countries, and things like that? Ultimately, I don't think so. Right now, it sure does look like it because of his placement of Steve Mnuchin. And Trump had no idea who this guy was. He was recommended to him by probably Goldman Sachs and all the Goldman Sachs guys. So I think when the hiccup comes, which could be started at any moment, especially with what's going on with Greece and the European Union is falling apart, and there's not many people are saying it's going to be around in the next 3 or 4 months. So there's a lot of craziness there, and it will spill over into the United States because all our big banks are invested in Europe as well, and those are counterparties to a lot of the derivative positions of J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank, all the criminal banks. So yeah, that's my take on silver. Is now is a great time to buy before the chaos begins, especially if you're going to hold it for more than 6 months. And if you're holding it for more than 6 months, you will get the kind of chaos that is likely to take out the banking system at some point. As far as Bitcoin, it is strong and steady. Just look at the chart since 2015, middle of 2015, strong and steady wins the race. It had its pullback. The Chinese market volume has gone down precipitously. Unbelievable how much that's fallen. Well, very believable if you're going to turn the Chinese Bitcoin exchanges into real exchanges where people go in with money to buy Bitcoin and don't rehypothecate the crap out of it. I think there is some signs that the Japanese exchanges are picking up where China just left off on the rehypothecation. And remember, Mount Gox is where the it was located in Japan. So yeah, big problems there. Um, I wouldn't expect an implosion of a Bitcoin exchange this time to cause that much trouble. Remember, Mount Gox had a huge majority of all the exchanges. That's why, and people weren't really understanding what Bitcoin was. It was the very early days, so that's why when Mount Gox went down, it took Bitcoin down with it big time from $1,100 down to whatever it went to 200 or so. I don't see that happening this time at all. As a matter of fact, I see the opposite happening. The more we get rid of these criminal exchanges, the more we will be in a situation where the value of Bitcoin can be trusted on the exchanges, how much people are willing to buy for it versus how much Bitcoin they get. As far as the Winklevoss ETF, I am not a fan at all of that. And those who think that it will affect the price going up or going down are fooling themselves, because it's an electronic Bitcoin derivative. It will not be an exchange. And when Virtu Financial, the company of Vincent Viola, the criminal rigger on the silver and gold ETFs, SLV and GLD, when they're involved in this, which they are, it was announced in the prospectus. Yeah, you don't want to play in that game. I think the Bitcoin ETF will be good for visibility in the beginning, and could be an excuse as to why the price of Bitcoin is rising. But ultimately, they're trying to do the same thing with the Bitcoin ETF, have all the money flow into that ETF, and rig the price with computers and keep that money away from the real thing, the real Bitcoin transactions, because those ETFs are not blockchain transactions. When you go in and you buy an ETF for Bitcoin, those are not going to be recorded on the blockchain. It's just a derivative. Those of you with money in your 401k that you cannot get out, yeah, you might go in there to try to play the Bitcoin rise, but there's definitely a lot of bad actors going into that ETF, especially Virtu Financial, the Vincent Viola company. I was heartened to hear that he backed out of being the head of the Army. Because I mean, it's just ridiculous that he was put there. He was vetted. The vetting. I don't even know if the vetting began before he quit. And I always said, he ain't gonna survive it, and he did. He quit. He backed out. He's one of the criminals that rigs the silver market every day as part of the electronic rigging process for the bad guys. So, yeah, stay away from him. So, all in all, on this day, it's Wednesday, February 15th, I would say now's a great time to buy silver, physical silver in your own possession. Even better time to buy Bitcoin. It's hovering around $1,000, been jumping down below a little bit. But if you look at the trend line, we're coming up to that trend line of the slow and steady rise again. So I think the next move up for Bitcoin will be $1,200, $1,300. Once it blows by the old high, then you're going to see a lot of it in the news. The volatility will kick up again. It'll probably go really high up to 1,400 and then get slammed back down to 11 or 12. But anything you buy in the $1,000 range that you're going to hold throughout the year is going to do very, very, very well. And last year, Bitcoin was up by 4 or 5 times. I think you're going to get even more this year with the financial chaos that's going to be going on. So my name is Bix Weir. I have the website roadtoruta.com. Come by. If you aren't a member of roadtoruta.com, put your email in. You'll get email updates almost daily. And then subscribe to this video channel, because I'm posting a lot of videos, as you can tell, and they're getting great responses. And a lot of people don't have time to sit and read articles, so they could just put their earplugs in and listen to this video. There'll be more coming from Road to Ruta. Later today, we have the Hump Day interview. I don't think that V will be available, but his partner CJ will be available, and we have a lot to talk about the recent departure of Mike Flynn, General Mike Flynn, and the guy who's taken over for him, General Kellogg, who's even better. Anyway, have a good day. Road to Ruta.com. Come check us out. Talk to you later.